Hi, I'm Bart Hanson. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record live at 2 p.m. Eastern Time every Monday. If you enjoy this video, hit that like button, and if you want to submit to be on the show, take a look at the information in the description.
The hand that I played over the weekend, it is online, so it's on Poker 2.
Okay.
And it is a 1-2 with a $4 straddle option game.
So 1-2 with a $4 option straddle. Okay.
Yep. And so there is a straddle on, and that's going to be the main villain.
Okay.
So we get a call from middle position, +1. And then I'm sitting in the hijack with king, queen of diamonds. And I raise it up to 20. And it folds over to the gentleman in the straddle who makes the call, and the limper folds. The only relevant background information is the fact that me and this guy just had a hand where I triple barrel bluffed him, and I showed him the bluff. This was 2 hands before, so that's the only relevant information that I have.
How deep did you guys say? Did you say what you were?
He was effective stack, and his effective stack was 339.
So 1-2, and their $4 straddle is on this hand, right?
Yep.
MP1 limps, and hero has king, queen of diamonds in the hijack and raises to 20?
Yep.
Okay.
And then just the villain calls, the limper folds.
All right, so...
And the flop.
Who's the villain? I'm sorry. V1 calls where?
He's the straddler, so UT under the gun.
Okay, so straddle calls, limper folds.
Yep.
Okay. Yep.
So it's 47 going into the flop, and the flop is a queen of clubs, 6 of hearts, and 3 of spades.
Queen of clubs, 6 of hearts, 3 of spades. You've got king, queen, diamonds. So you've got top pair. Yep.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. So it checks to me, and then I just fire a C-bet for 20. And then he immediately re-raises to 45. And so I guess just kind of taking back off of the hand that we played before, I was just thinking that he could be taking a shot back at me. He's a decent player, so I guess that was kind of in my mind. It's a little bit of a crazy game, so it's not, too out of the realm for people to get, crazy and just start bluffing.
What's your name, by the way?
Tyler.
Tyler. Okay, so I'm pretty good with hand recall. And I remember seeing this hand, and part of the reason why I picked it out is because I thought that the line was so odd. Didn't you email me in and say the guy led the flop into you?
No. He checked to me, and then he re-raised me on the flop.
Oh, it's because it's this damn replayer that you...
Yeah.
Oh, I probably missed what... By the way, if anybody's submitting a hand, I actually had the opportunity to look at it in the replayer, Tyler, because I was on my phone reading your email. When people submit hands, please don't send me hands in the replayers. Okay. Especially not share my pair. Just write it out. It's a lot easier for me, but that's okay. So hero bets 20, straddle raises to 45. Okay, so he's made a small raise here. For some reason, I thought that he was going to come out and just go bet. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Here coming a lead. But okay, so you bet 20, straddle raises to 45. I mean, this is sometimes indicative of, kind of a smallish top pair that needs protection. You have one of the best hands that you're going to have here. I mean, there's nothing for you to do here but call. I'm assuming you called, right?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
So
just made
calls.
The call and assumed that, I just called down his bluffs or, get beat by a better hand. I felt like I was going to do pretty good on turns and rivers most of the time.
Okay.
So the turn is a 10 of clubs.
The turn is the 10 of clubs.
Yep. So that brings in a backdoor club draw.
Right. Okay.
And he bet $79 into me.
So you bet 20, he raises, he check raises to 45 out of the straddle, which means, and again, he can be much wider in the straddle, meaning that, you might see him have like 6-3 suited, queen 6 suited, things that he wouldn't have in the field. So that's always a little bit of a challenge. when you make the call, it looks like the pot's about 167 according to, actually it's 137 according to my notes. Turns the 10 of clubs and he bets
79.
Okay, so that's a pretty hefty bet here. But nothing has really changed. I mean, this is where betting patterns come into play in certain scenarios. Like, he basically min-clicked the flop, right? So you bet 20, he makes it 45. Now, if you called the 45 and then he followed up with a bet of like 40, I would 100% think that you have the best hand. This is one of the most reliable bet pattern tells that there can ever be. I have not seen somebody reverse this. And I keep putting it out there. Like, you know, obviously I've been doing this for 15 years, but whenever somebody follows up with a bet on a subsequent street on a blank card that is the same or less than what their aggressive action is, their hand is not strong. It is literally like 100%. I mean, obviously that's not 100%. I don't think it's 100%, but you don't have that here. I'm just pointing that out. Like, if this guy if this guy bet 40 here, like, your hand would be good, like, almost always, right. I feel like. But here, he's making a sizable bet. So, again, I don't think you have anything but to continue to just call. I'm never going to fold.
What if he did bet 40? Would you ever think about putting in a raise there, or would you just call at 40 as well?
That's a really tricky question. Normally, and this is really where people think like I'm nuts. King Queen might be kind of close. Where I would really like to put in a raise on the turn if he bet small would be with over pairs like aces and kings, because then you not only do you unblock the fact that he's got a queen and there's many more queens, but you never have to worry that your hand is good. And then also too, if for some reason he actually does have two pair, you have more outs, which is kind of interesting too. But it's a tricky question because depending on how draw heavy the board is, yeah, I will sometimes raise turn and then follow up with some river value bets too. And then sometimes I'll call and gamble. And if I call the turn and gamble, it's with the intention of like really betting heavy on the river one check too. I want to make up that extra. So if, like here, if he had bet 40 on the turn and I had aces and I decided to just call, then I'm gambling that I'm going to blast the river here. And because the flop doesn't have a front door in it, I like it less by just calling, because where I will sometimes gamble, even though it's sometimes counterintuitive, is when there's a front door flush draw out there, not raise the turn, because then you'll get paid off on the river because the guy will think that you missed the front door. Where here on Queen 6-3, there's no real front door, so it's hard to find bluffs. But anyways, that's a digression. Going back to what you're saying here, I mean, I think you just have a clear-cut call, right? This is a $79 bet into 137. So 70 into 137, it looks like, you know, he's going to have, what, about 250 left, 225 left, or something like that.
195.
Okay, so hero calls.
And then the river is the 5 of clubs.
So the pot's just a hair under 300, right?
Yep, 295.
All right, 295. And you said the guy's got 195 left? Oops.
Yep.
I wrote river prematurely. Turn. All right, so what's the river?
So the river is a 5 of clubs.
So the final
in the back door.
So the final board is Queen of clubs, 6 of hearts, 3 of spades. Hero bets 20 with King, Queen of diamonds, gets check raised to 45, call. Turns to 10 of clubs. Villain bets 79, hero calls, pots 295. The river's a 5 of clubs, which brings in the backdoor flush, by the way. Although the top card, when we're looking at flop distribution to look at backdoor flushes, is the Queen of clubs. So I don't overly concern myself with these runouts with backdoor flushes facing flop check raises on rainbow boards. It's more of when a guy calls and then suddenly like wakes up at the end, the backdoors come in and it makes sense for him to make the backdoor. Here, it's kind of hard for him to have the backdoor flush unless he's like check raising like 4 or 5 of, no, he can't have 4 or 5 of clubs because the 5 of clubs comes in at the end.
That's what my thought was.
I'd be surprised that he has the backdoor clubs here, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, is that any way that he would get there with backdoor clubs would probably be open-ended on the flop, which that takes away from. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, absolutely. So
and
what ended up
so
happening?
he ends up jamming for 195.
Wow, okay. So straddle jams. I think I mean, honestly, at this level, there's a couple of reasons why I'm gonna probably fold here, overfold in this spot, which is interesting here because it's probably an easier fold for you if you actually have an overpair. Do you know why that is? Why is it an easier fold if you've got aces or kings here than having king queen?
I'm not sure. Would it be? Yeah, I'm not sure actually.
It's an easier fold because there are more opportunities for your opponent to have two pair, queens up. Where here
Right.
you have a queen. So what he's representing in terms of value range, there's just less combinations. It's somewhat subtle here, but it's just something to think about at the end. Like a lot of times you'll see this too, and it's reflected in these in the solver work that's recently come out over the last few years. Would you rather have this hand versus that hand? Would you rather have, a spade in your hand on the flop when there's two spades? And the answer is yes. We used to think about it. No, we want to block the draws, but actually the backup equity, the backdoor equity is greater for you. But then when you move to the turn, if you don't pick up the backdoor equity, now you'd rather not have the spade. That's a simple example. Pushing that into this example, on the turn, you'd rather have an overpair than have
Right.
king queen because you have equity against two pair. Now on the river, when the board pairs, you'd actually rather have king queen because there's less of a chance that your opponent has queens up. So it moves from street to street depending on what the river is, what you would rather have. What I was going to say here is that I'm probably going to overfold this river to this aggression. And I know it seems kind of crazy, but you have shown that you look like you're going to call down here. That's number one. And there's no front door draw. The other thing too, as I'll often point out, the plausible straight draw, if he were to make a raise with some sort of draw, would be 4-5, and 4-5 now pairs. So even though it's not, they would know, or it would be logical to deduce that, if I check raise with 4-5 and you call as a pre-flop raiser and then you call my bet on the turn, a 5's not good. You'll find players at this level check here because they have a pair. They won't turn a 5
Right.
into a bluff. So when I see these situations where the only plausible draw pairs at the river and the opponent continues to put a lot of pressure on me, that leans me towards a fold. Like I said, I agree with you. I don't think that the backdoor here really has that much relevance, especially with 4-5 of clubs being impossible. Again, it's queen of clubs, 6 of hearts, 3 of spades, 10 of clubs, 5 of clubs. So, but I think I would just overfold and give the guy a set, give the guy a two pair. Remember, he's wide from the straddle, right? I mean,
Right.
he can have like a lot of hands. This is not as condensed of a range as somebody calling from the field. So I think I'm gonna overfold here when I'm getting like 2.5 to 1. What ended up happening?
I ended up calling, and he showed a set of sixes.
So hero calls and straddle has 6-6. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you have any history with this guy, but that doesn't surprise me.
Right.
It doesn't.
Yeah, I do. I have history with him. It was just, and maybe this is just a bad thought of just like, oh, I just bluffed this guy. Like, he's going to be, he's super aggressive. He's going to be coming after me all day long. But
Right.
Just seeing the run out and like looking at it post, after we got done with the hand, I 100% agree with you. And you saying the 5-4 that gets there, a lot of people at this stake, they probably do check that, right? Just try to get to showdown maybe.
Yeah.
Or not thinking that they're going to get a bluff through.
Well, they're just not, people don't, it's another common thing. People at the lower levels don't turn hands into bluffs that are pairs. For whatever required critical thinking that it takes to realize that your bottom pair that you now ran into on the river is still not going to be the best hand, they just shut it down when they have a pair. Whereas if he had 4-5 and it was queen 6 3 10 and the river was like, you know, a 3 or whatever, a blank, a 9, another 10, he would shove with 4-5 because he couldn't win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When in fact, the fact that the 5 has paired is almost entirely irrelevant. Although in this hand, which is kind of interesting, which we have to go back to hand reading, it is a little bit more relevant that a 5 could have showdown value. And I'm going to put you on the spot, caller, again, and I'm going to say, why do I think it might be more, and anybody else in the live chat, if they want to take a shot at this, if typically a 5 would not be relevant, that if someone had 4-5 here and a 5 wouldn't be relevant to the hand where the guy would still have to turn his hand into a bluff, why do I think this situation is different looking back at the entire hand here where a 5 actually might have showdown value?
Is it because of the hands that I could have?
It's partially because of the hands that you have, but take a look at what happened in the hand on each street.
Right. So I'm just showing a lot of strength, obviously, right?
No, but this is a case where typically a 5 would not have showdown value. That's what I'm saying. Like, you're not going to win with a 5. But I think with this particular run out and what the action happened in the hand, a 5 might have showdown value. And there's one key part to this, and I see that no one in the live chat is answering, so I'm going to give people a big hint. I'm going to highlight the relevant information here that makes me think that a 5 could actually have some showdown value at the end. A single paired 5 might actually have some showdown value. I'll give somebody another hint here too. If you're betting with ace king on the flop as a C bet, right? You've got king queen, right? But let's say that you're betting like with ace king. Are you folding to his raise on the flop?
No.
So because he raised so small on the flop, you actually have some hands here that would not continue to normal sizing. Ace king, ace jack. The turn would pick those hands up as a gut shot and may continue. So there's a slight chance that a 5 actually might be good here at showdown because you might have ace king or ace jack due to the so the one specific reason is the min raise on the flop.
Right.
So the min raise on the flop actually allows you to sometimes have these hands getting to the end, to the river. And to be honest with you, it's not even just ace king or ace jack. If you were to structure, well, actually the problem is you make a flush. Well, I was going to say let's say you structured like your continuation bets, with broadways with a backdoor, king jack of hearts, king 10 of hearts, king jack of spades, king jack of spades. I guess it's just basically the king jacks. You pick up open-ended on the turn. So you're definitely going to bet call the flop with the king jack suited. You pick up open-ended on the turn, you continue on. So his flop check raise is so small, you actually might get to the river with a non-paired hand because you've picked up the equity on the turn. But
that makes sense.
But normally it's not. Anyways, guys, I appreciate the call. If you like what you've seen here, please hit the subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this call-in hand, hit the like button down below. To check out crushlivepoker.com, click on the link in the description. Use the code YTA300 to get the first 30 days for free.